Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Zesty's Best Bets. It's been a bountiful last couple weekends. Zest 9-2 last weekend.
Rolling.
A hell of a performance over the start of the playoffs. And as we get deeper and deeper, we hope to continue that stretch. 4 games this week, so we'll get right into it. First one on the slate will be Texans in Baltimore. Baltimore is minus 7.5. Over under for that game is 43.5. So take it away, Zesty. Where's the winners?
Yeah, I'm doing a little traveling roadshow here, so bear with me. I believe the line is minus 9.5 for Baltimore.
It is up to 9.5 now.
I think it opened at 10.
Yeah, like literally that day that I grabbed it off of TMZ ESPN, it was showing 7.5, but it's always been 9 or 9.5 offshore.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm doing a traveling roadshow. The little bit of research I've done has been slightly less than some of the average things I can get into. But teams coming off of a bye, the under is trending. The under is trending to the under, obviously. It's trending to the under. But to that, Houston's first half, first quarter, against the tight end, the pressure rate that they get on quarterbacks, all of this trends more to actually Baltimore covering, which I said last week I don't like fading Stroud. He was the sharp side. There was trends against him, but back to Houston doesn't cover the first half. They don't cover tight ends. They don't cover quarters. So if you're going to lose 2 quarters in a row, you're going to be trailing. If your quarterback's getting pressure right in your face and you almost, lose a third of your efficiency with pressure, with guys that can cover on the outside. As a fan, I am rooting for Houston because I like Stroud. I don't know how much I can trust Lamar, but as a entire team, they are the much better team. So if I can limit my exposure and cut it into a half, I'll take that. I would also, there's a little bit of a trend that I was flirting with. I didn't put it on. It'll kind of fall into some of the other games, but so big underdogs in the over are kind of a trend because if the favorite is leading, they're going to choke the game out. But in the event it's a back and forth like Green Bay, we'll get to that. But it's more likely that a dog is going to continue to fire or have empty calories and cover the over. I don't necessarily think that happens in this game. I do think Baltimore with the elements, the defense, the pressure, the offense, the put pressure. I think they're I don't want to put a number on it, but it's something like 14-3 first half leads. I just think Houston is going to be overmatched overwhelmingly. I'd be curious to see what Stroud's numbers are to maybe dabble into that. But Houston is a team versus Baltimore is a team, even with 3 weeks of not playing, and they might come out sluggish. I don't believe that's the case. But there is the back and forth. But I think ultimately Baltimore overmatches them early. I think they cover the entire game, truthfully. I think this is 31-17-ish, which, if I do quick math, I think that covers the under. No, it does not cover the under, but I just think Houston is a great story, and they beat their maker. First quarter are the sides I would play.
Betting public, what's your thoughts? Rolling with the Texans? I really think that,
absolutely.
I love everything that Cody just said. I'm rooting for the Texans, but just think the Ravens might be too strong this year, as much as I don't want to admit it. They may not be fraudulent, but tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I saw the line at 10 opening up, and then it got to 9 when I looked at it during the week when I was looking to see if I wanted to make a bet, and I thought the line might continue to move down, so I grabbed it at 9. I have the Texans at +9. It's actually stayed solid at 9, I think pretty much around the books, and has even gotten up to 9.5 in some places, which not what I expected. I think that, none of what you said is wrong, of course. To me, what we think the Ravens will do to the Texans is actually very similar to what we thought the Browns might do to the Texans, where their defense would get pressure, they'd be able to make enough plays, keep Stroud out of being comfortable. That didn't happen a lick. Like, it, whatever the injury status that is kind of wishy-washy with Myles Garrett, he didn't get to the passer at all, and that meant that the Browns' pass rush was almost non-existent in the first half of the game. Stroud fucking lit them up like a Christmas tree, and I think that he will struggle to find that much success against Baltimore. But to me, the determining factor is Laramie Tunsil and that gang on the offensive line. If they can have the type of performance that they had last week against Baltimore's defense, then I do think that the Texans cover. I think that's their path to winning. Baltimore definitely saw that game last week and probably knew this going in regardless. The way that you stop Stroud is with pressure, right? We talked about that against Cleveland. He's a lot worse under pressure. That's how you got to attack him. They are going to be hurting again. Noah Brown's on IR. They're only going to have Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz showed up for one catch last week, but didn't really do much else. Tried to take a live over on him for receiving yards in the second half, and that came to a crushing defeat since he never caught another ball that first one. So finished 14 yards shy, even though his first catch was for 37 yards putts. But what are you going to do? To me, though, the path to success for the Texans is on the offensive line. If they can do that against the Ravens like they did against the Browns, which may or may not, CJ Stroud won me over in that game. I think I have enough faith in him to keep firing and to not be intimidated by the moment. So you couple that for me with Baltimore, who I cannot understand why, but has historically struggled in the playoffs with Lamar. And I think it ends up being a little bit closer than the 9 points. So Even though I think Baltimore does win, I think Stroud keeps it close.
And just to put a cap on that, dome teams playing sub 30, not very good. You know,
Is it cold in Baltimore this weekend?
It's below 30.
Colder than a dome.
Yeah. I just had negative 17 degrees. So every NFL game was warmer. Obviously, I wasn't in the element as much, but I apologize. I don't have the notes with me, but I do know Peyton Manning struggled. Patriots going to Foxborough. That's why they always fought for home field so hard. It is not a good trend for a dome team to go sub 30. And I believe it's supposed to be a 20-degree kickoff. Obviously, we're from snow country, 20 degrees. I'm a fat kid. I'm walking around in my shirt, but I get it. I've spent my time in the southern region when it was 118 and I was freezing my balls off in 80 degrees in the hotel. So I get it. Temperatures, not the big thing. It's warm climate, dome, cold climate. It is going to be an issue, let alone elements. Like we saw with Kansas City last week. Or Miami, I guess. Kansas City, Miami. But at least Miami played outdoors. They could at least deal with elements if wind was induced. Dome teams, everything is perfect. I didn't do enough analysis against Stroud or the Texans for that, but I know it's enough that it's going to be an issue or at least something to consider.
It's not going to be Miami going into KC, but it is going to be
exactly
a factor. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I think
those Maryland fuckers don't like the cold either, though.
Yeah, well, they live in the cold, but like I said, to end it, the trends don't suggest that dome teams do well.
Well, like I said, I'll be rooting for CJ. He certainly won me over last week, but Ravens are strong this year. If they lose, it'll be on them. It'll be on them, and I'll love them for losing. Moving on to the Packers, 49ers. 49ers minus 9.5. Over under 50.5. And Zesty, I know you're on Green Bay over, but tell me how you think this game falls.
So the big cap on this is teams coming off a bye. They kind of struggle a little bit. I know I just went against it with Baltimore, but I mentioned the weather. Green Bay's offense, I think, is at least top 3. I believe they're number 2. I do believe they're overrated coming off of the Cowboys debacle. But the Niners are in the same situation. They haven't played a meaningful game in, we'll call it 2.5 weeks at least. I think the Niners can get got. I know that's not proper English, but that was intent. What the Packers are doing is something that attacks what the Niners do. So this game is going to be played in the trenches. Essentially, that's most of my evaluations. Bosa's going to get his. Young,
Their whole defense is a super team. Am I wrong?
maybe. The back half's not. So if they don't get after them and they don't have a lead, they're a completely different team. They're not Cowboy-esque so much. They're a little more planned and disciplined. But like Chase Young, not a terribly game changer. Nick Bosa.
It's hard for you to say nice things about Chase Young. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, truth. He is definitely benefiting from the Niners and Nick Bosa, but the Green Bay Packers offensive linemen have actually done a really good job. But I'm more impressed with the coaching staff and how they're able to scheme Jordan Love into success. And that's running the ball, play action, over routes. They've got the crossover routes. Depending on how degenerate or how crazy you want to be, Green Bay money line is not out of the question. Of the remaining teams, I would say this is a tougher or the toughest matchup the Niners will face. For that reason, I like the Packers +3 first quarter. I think they come out. I think they get the ball. They're going to score. I'm not looking at the sheet, but I believe I have them first half as well at 6.5. For the same reason, I think it's going to go back and forth. I haven't gone full game because this could get out of script in the second half. I don't have the opportunity for the second half bets, but I would actually even look into Green Bay money line. I like Green Bay's total over 20.5 because I think Green Bay is going to get theirs and put the pressure on. That being said, I do not anticipate Green Bay being a juggernaut and shutting the game down. So I think the Niners are going to get it. Whether or not they get to the 50.5, it's probably going to come to a possession, or we're going to find out in the first quarter and it's going to go way over. But I would not take the under in this game. Not saying take the over, but
yeah, I mean, if you think
the
Niners are the better team and the Packers are going to get theirs, the over is assumed. Certainly not the under.
But everybody loves to bet the over. I'm just saying the under in this game doesn't have value. Everybody loves to bet the over because they think everybody's going to score, but I'm just saying this game specifically, if you don't bet the over, don't bet the under. It just doesn't have the value because of how the teams match up. Like, it's not the 50 with, it's not the Cowboys Miami game we talked about a couple weeks ago. This game doesn't have the value of the under. Everything is value over. or nothing. I'm not saying 50.5 is a great bet. I'm just saying under is just completely being contrarian. Honestly, it's a flip of the coin. You want to be that person and say, "Hey, I just want to be different." Have at it, best of luck. But there's going to be points scored.
I love that analysis, mostly because I see the under on our sheet under the anonymous betting public's score. So tell us why you're a fan of that under at 50.5.
Well,
And I assume you got it at 50.5, right?
just want to be different, just want to go against the grain. Also,
Yeah.
what I see that aligns with what Zest just said is you have the number 2 in San Francisco and number 8 teams in points per game. So if they just do what they average, they're going to drop 52 combined. I think, though, that an important stat as well as that stat is the plays per game, in which San Francisco sits at a surprisingly low 27 and Green Bay sits at a surprisingly low 25. So to me, the total is about red zone efficiency, and I think buttholes tend to tighten up a little bit more in the divisional round. Margins are going to be closer, and you will see more field goals, especially from the Packers, I think, who managed to go up against the Dallas defense that was asleep at the wheel last week, apparently, and also had a quarterback giving away the farm. So to me, the Packers will have less touchdown efficiency in the red zone. The 49ers coming off a bye, probably rested, refreshed, but also might be a little rusty, maybe a missed throw here and there. Maybe that Green Bay pass rush shows up. The one way to hurt Purdy is with pressure, especially if you can do that and play good to get pretty good defense, which the Packers seem to do against Dallas until the second half when they kind of decided, fuck it. But the 49ers offense, I think, will handle the Packers here. But if I was going to lay some money, my current bets would be the Packers plus 9.5, keeping it close, maybe with the backdoor cover there, and the 49ers the under for the game, 50.5. It's a decently high number, and I think that both teams are going to run the ball, and that's what's going to lead itself to the under more than anything. But like I said, it's not a strong lean at this point.
Yeah, 2 weeks of good defense isn't going to change the way I've kept them all year. The Green Bay Packers defense is still a liability. However, they have played impressive.
They did give up like 300 yards in the second half. So, yeah, to your point, maybe they weren't that impressive.
Well, they were impressive. They were impressive. They were up 40 points, and they're like, give some dick deck. Anyway, that wasn't a shot at you. On a real analysis is there was some turmoil because of how shitty they were. They're playing really good in this small window. I don't believe that's necessarily who they are because they still don't push the pocket. That was the craziest thing about the Cowboy game. Not so much the cap, because we at least myself, we in the group, I think were except you, the public. Just kidding. That wasn't a shot either. It really was.
We know where your head was at last week.
It really wasn't a shot at you, but it kind of came out that way. Dallas kind of shit the bed because they didn't push the pressure points. Which awesome. Bring back McCarthy. However, that doesn't necessarily tell me Green Bay is an elite defense now, like Chicago. Like Chicago turned it. There was metrics. They went from shitty. They got a pass rusher. They were at least viable. Green Bay still doesn't pressure great. They've got some corners. They're still wishy-washy. They don't cover the run well. They certainly don't defend a receiving back like Christian.
McCaffrey. Yeah.
So I don't think you're, without being definitive and decisive here, I don't think you're wrong, but the reason I chose the Packers is I do think the Packers are going to get their points. Now, whether or not the Niners show up and get their points, I do. I believe they get to 29. The reason I didn't take the entire game is it's very possible Green Bay has a letdown. The Niners come out sluggish, but I do believe Green Bay, in any circumstance, scores 21 points. I like them coming out hot. I like them in the first half. One, which I said one too many times, but for the same game strip. The first quarter, likely first half, whether or not, a touchdown and no points covers it. We're not playing the totals here. We're not looking for both points. This is Green Bay specific. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, I can't say I have any faith in Green Bay to pull it off, but I'm certainly not rooting for the Niners. I'm hoping Purdy throws a couple big sixes as well and gets a little of that pressure off of Dak's back. Not that I am a fan of Dak either, but I just
Wouldn't
it was baffling last week. It'll be interesting to see what happens when the Packers do meet some sort of resistance.
baffling is a strong word. Fucking Dallas. They're a shit show in the playoffs.
Baffling is a strong word because we did have a sneaking suspicion, didn't we, Zesty? I didn't have any money on the Cowboys last week. That is for certain.
Yeah, and the only reason I made a little bit of money on the game is because I followed some of Zesty's bets that weren't the fucking line. So
Follow the zest. I can't say it enough.
I made a little bit of money, so
Absolutely. Well, we'll move on to Sunday.
it's a damn shame we don't have Dallas to fade anymore.
Always an easy decision to make. We'll move on to Sunday. Sunday slate is obviously Buccaneers Lions, then Chiefs Bills. So start with Bucks Lions. Lions minus 6.5. The over under there is 48.5. Zesty, you've got Buccaneers 21.5 and the Detroit under 27.5 on the sheet. So tell us a little bit about that, and we will get into the analysis as well.
So the big thought process is, what does Tampa Bay do? Well, a lot of it's off script passing. What does Detroit struggle with? Passing defense. This is kind of a clash of good to great. Scripts, I guess. Not necessarily scripts, but so Tampa Bay, good luck running against them. What does Detroit want to do? They want to run the ball. They want to pound the rock. But most importantly, they want to play action. So you take it away. Okay, now we got Goff. versus I don't know, maybe better than average secondary against a blitzing secondary. Little
Maybe.
little different. I'd see a little of the buyback on Tampa Bay, but I really haven't. I stayed away from the number. If I had to pick the number, I wouldn't, or I would have already. 6.5 is just kind of bad for both teams because you're in a limbo. Your margin area is so small that you can make the argument that Tampa Bay's hot, they got good receivers, Baker's slinging it. Detroit secondary is skeptical. They don't put a lot of pressure on. The Bucs offensive line are above average to at least average, giving the perception that they're going to have time to throw the ball. And then you can pivot to the other side that Tampa Bay's defense stifles the run. Detroit will not run against this team. They're going to blitz. They're going to force Goff to throw the ball, which isn't optimal. It's not terrible because they have the weapons to do it, but that's not what they want to do. They want to be able to control the ball. They want to run the ball. This is why I picked the Rams last week, is it was just a conflict of interest. I liked both teams. I still like Detroit. Naturally, everybody fell in love with Detroit. The number got inflated to 6.5. Philadelphia's a fraud. They were a terrible team. The number's inflated. The team to back is the Bucs. If you're going to do it because the number's inflated, but it wouldn't shock me if Detroit covered the 6.5. It's just this number from Kick after the Philly game is shit, which surprises me. It's shit to the public perception. So my bets are Tampa over 20.5. Just like I mentioned, they're going to get theirs because the secondary of Detroit is less than optimal. It's a good chance that they're trailing and they're going to be gunslinging. If not, even then, 21.5, not a great number. You'd like to, get to at least 21, but you're not going to buy that down. There's a good
Is
chance.
Baker the better quarterback in this game?
Goff has a better situation.
But who is the better football player?
Baker is likable or hateable, depending on which way you look at it. Goff isn't bad, especially when it's in indoor climates. I mean, he's an accurate. He's essentially C.J. Stroud beta. I mean, he puts the ball where it needs to be, unless he's pressured, which we talked about game one, and then he just throws it to whoever. Or does one of these, throws it and almost costs the game. And naturally, I bet the game, so it didn't cost the game. But
Yeah.
6.5 is a lot to lay with this Detroit team. Could they do it? And if they did do it, would I be surprised? No. But what have they done to prove that they are this alpha other than beat a 7 seed, right? Yeah, 7 seed Ram team.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're playing the Bucs. So in my head, I was like, okay, what would the line be if it was the Eagles? The Eagles just squeaked out a win. You're telling me it's 6.5? Not a chance.
No way.
Yeah. The Bucks, 100%. Anyway, back to my bets. Detroit under 27.5 because I believe in Tampa Bay's defense. So I'm capping myself to an extent because I do believe Tampa is the team that shouldn't be a dog of 6.5, but I don't think Detroit should be 6.5 point favorite, which
Right.
I think it's going to get to 27.5. The under is a team or a complete total I'd flirt with because I think Tampa Bay's defense is legit. Detroit is spotty, good at defense, but their offense have also shown that they are spotty at offense. As we saw last week when the game was, I think, all the way up to 70 is a total and cashed under the under I had mentioned.
Yep.
So they do play possession to possession, and they are explosive. So they're a little weird. This game, the biggest play I think I would think on this is Detroit under 27.5, to be honest with you. I think that is the most consistent because of what I know of Tampa. I would love the total to go over because it's entertaining, but I don't know if it actually reaches that. I don't think I would even bet it. And then obviously I think it plays within the number, and I think Tampa over 21.5 is a bad number, but it almost I'm using the word incorrectly, but almost hedges that if it is a scoring game, at least that covers, and then you still have the potential that 27.5 covers because that's a terrible number. That's hey, all they need is 4 touchdowns. They're going to do that in the first quarter. It's a bad number for the over, which to me tells me we're trying to get over bets. 21.5 tells me they're trying to get under bets, which then tells me the game itself probably trends to the under. Yeah, that's the notes I have.
Betting public. How you feel about them notes?
Great notes. Always great notes. I do have the Bucks here plus 6.5, and I'm on the over at 48.5. I think Tampa Bay does enough in the passing game. Their approach, I think, should be very similar to what the Rams did. If it weren't for some poor red zone execution by the Rams, they win that game. So you look at the Rams and the style of offense that they play, and you might think, not everybody has a Cooper Kupp and a Puka Nacua, but the Buccaneers have a Mike Evans and a Chris Godwin. So they're in a pretty good position receiver-wise. I think they're going to put a lot. Yeah, I think they put a lot of pressure on Detroit's secondary, which is where they're weak. They will try to run the ball a little bit just to be able to capitalize on some play action. But I also like Rachaad White under his rushing total at 56.5, just because I think that Tampa Bay will run the ball enough to keep their offense moving and keep the Lions guessing. They'll get some light boxes that they can run against, but it's not going to be the key component of the game. I think that they're going to have Baker air it out, put some pressure on the Detroit secondary again. As I said, Aiden Hutchinson, if he can keep being a one-man pass rush, hey, man, probably an all-pro many years in a row in your future, but that's tough to do. So I think that his success rate is going to fall off a little bit here against the Buccaneers, and they'll be able to score and capitalize. Love the over 21.5. I think that ends up holding true. In terms of Detroit here, I think that Goff, just to quickly answer the question from moderator Steve, I think Goff is actually the better quarterback with Baker, provided the pressure as well. So that's the big thing to me. So if Vita Vea can get in his face a little bit and they can create some rush with the blitz, then that'll help keep them in line with what we're talking about here. That was a big part that they didn't do when they played last in the regular season. They did not have a good pass rush success rate. Didn't get pressure on Goff, but even still in that game, it was close until about the end of the third quarter when Detroit finally took a 2-score lead. So we do have some familiarity here, and I think lines just get tighter and tighter in the playoffs. These are two teams that, a lot of people didn't expect to be here in the second round because everybody overinflated the Eagles, and people thought maybe the Rams would win, a lot like we did. Rams came close, gave it a hell of a go, did not execute in the red zone. I think Tampa Bay, though, will find some more success. If they don't win, I like them to keep it close, much like the Rams did. So I see 27-24, that type of outcome. But it's gonna be pretty close here to the total.
Yeah, I almost want to go throw a bet on like 27-24, like you just said, or something like that. Get that exact
Mommy,
number
you do
back
that, it'll
popping.
just be like too many field goals, and all of a sudden it's 22-19 or some bullshit like that, and then everything that the ZESTY said just came true. So
Yeah, I've
go do that,
never
and
been,
then we'll do
never
the
been that
opposite.
lucky. So you're
Give
right.
you
I
a
would just be
finder's fee.
confirming
Yeah.
that won't happen with my bet. But
Just to complete it, I haven't looked a lot into the props, but I do like the public white under 56.5. I kind of mentioned you don't run the ball against. Let me rephrase that. I said you don't run the ball against Tampa, but Tampa Bay cannot run the ball. Detroit's defense does do a good job of they exploit themselves with resources to stop the running game that affects the passing game, is how I'll end it. So the idea that a team that doesn't rush the ball well versus a team that overextends themselves to stop the run doesn't bode well. Obviously, the counter argument to that is it's an adjustment game. Tampa doesn't run the ball. We think we can stop them before. I wish I had a better argument with this, but I know I've watched several games that is not the case. They could have 8 up front and defend the pass. They still don't defend the run. So they exploit themselves to stop the run. The coach themselves, Mr. Dan Campbell, has said, we are going to stop the run. This is who we are. Essentially, I don't give a fuck. They're not going to run on us. Like he gets upset over a 2-yard run. It's a culture thing.
to which Baker says, "Fuck your run stop. We're gonna pass today."
Yeah. That's not entirely the cap. It's just they have a culture White specifically because of Tampa's ineptitude of rushing, and they might cycle through backs. They cannot run the ball, and some of that might be FU Baker, prove it, and they're over extenuating it. The fact that the numbers relatively median tells me nobody really knows. It's going to be a game script, and the game script I think of is Tampa's going to push it or be close. I think that reversely benefits because I think there's effective runs with play action in Tampa Bay or Detroit, takes a late lead or there's multiple backs. It's just Tampa Bay hasn't rushed the ball all year long, and they're in the South, which I guess New Orleans, well, I guess they all play decent defense, but they're not like elite defenses. I think I agree with you, Public, but I'm questioning it. I wouldn't bet it myself, but I think I agree with you. Moving on.
Moving on. Did we cover that game in full? Should we move on to Chiefs Bills? Anything else to say, betting public?
On to the classic.
I'll just say real quickly, I asked you that question because I do think Baker is the better quarterback. And I think he's been absolutely fucked circumstantially in his entire career. Apart from maybe this year. Goff has had a perfect situation nearly every year. That's just my take on things. So if they get up in this game, if they get an early lead, yeah, I do expect them to control the ball, control possessions, try and limit Tampa Bay's possessions and just run the ball as much as they can with Gibbs and Montgomery and limit everything. Limit the amount of ability to make a mistake. Again, because Goff isn't amazing. He's not a terrible quarterback, but not a guy who you're like, homie, go win us the game. And for that reason, I just think I'm rooting for Baker. I don't know that he has the horses to get it done against a Lions team who very well may get ahead at home with a little momentum behind them and just limit those possessions. But if you ask me who I want with the ball in their hand at the end of the game, Baker or Goff, please give me the ball with the Buccaneers down 6, 7, 8 points and the ball in Baker's hand, because it will go to overtime at that point, especially against the fucking Lions D. Now we move on.
It's a great question though. Before we do, because the way I thought of it is gun to your head, and you got to give a quarterback a ball to go save your life, and you have two choices: Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. And that's a really fucking hard decision for me, but I'm giving that fucking football to Baker if it's my life, honestly. Because I think there's more ways.
Because they're not great choices.
I think there's more ways that Baker can find a way to win a football game than there are for Goff. To me, Goff is things have to go well around him for him to have success, which is not completely indifferent from Baker. You know, he's benefited in Cleveland and also in Tampa Bay from having good players around him, especially in Cleveland with a strong running game. But that being said, he has a little bit more of that wild kitty in him. And I think for that reason, I might trust him a little bit more. But it is a fine ass line, and I see the look of confusion on the Zest. So he must be more of a golfer.
Give us one more take on this.
I'm a Baker fan, but I disagree. Game in hand, give me Goff.
Yeah.
He's proven the one. Hold on,
Because he won't make a mistake.
hold on. Game in hand or game to cover. They're little different bets.
Yeah.
Baker, bless his heart, he's gonna sling it. He's gonna throw a pick or make a let's be honest, the last touchdown he threw against Philly, he was pressured, he threw the ball up. Philly shit the pants, and it was a touchdown. He gets all the credit. Should have been a pick.
Right.
Against will even be considered
He's got a
conservative.
little too much Jameis Winston in him.
Yeah, we'll be a little conservative. 12 teams, that would have been a touchdown. Luckily, he played a team that it was a touchdown. On the other side, there was 20 other teams. It was a turnover in a scoring opportunity, which we can flip it. Jared Goff's little whatever the fuck this thing was. Yeah, it looked really gross and terrible.
I thought that's when the Rams were going to come through.
Yeah, gross and terrible and gross. Yeah, I don't know. I might be backpedaling. I don't know if I trust either one of these ones.
Well, that's fair.
Because I'm thinking the Super Bowl when he couldn't score. Obviously, it was Belichick, but Baker hasn't got.
Beauty of the question.
Yeah, Baker hasn't got to that point. I'm rooting for Baker. I'm rooting for Goff too. I like Detroit.
I like Bowles. I love Todd Bowles, and I'm a Dan Campbell fan. But I just think they're well coached, and they might have the better quarterback, and that's where I tend to lean. If I'm going to bet this game, it'll just probably be on the points in Tampa Bay. I like the total too, over 21.5. That might be the better bet for me. But
shout out Todd Bowles, by the way, for the best fucking answer to an interview question of the week when the person asked him about the weather in Detroit, and he's just, you do know that they play in the dome,
indoors,
right?
Yeah. He said, we'll be exposed for a minute.
Getting off the bus.
Well, I guess we're running kind of on schedule. Flip quarterbacks in the same team. You guys feel the same way? Because I feel a little different.
Honestly, I don't know. Not significantly different, but I do like
Baker back in the situation with a run game.
And I like Baker quite a bit with the Detroit offensive line.
Baker with a running game is what I was getting at.
That's where I would love that, Baker with a run game and one guy like Amon St. Ra or a Laporta, because he's always had weapons.
Yeah.
Like the betting public said, he's always had those weapons to lean on. Not that he, I've just never seen him without him. So it's going to be interesting to see.
So Goff gets so much slander, but I was very impressed in the Rams game. I'll go full disclosure.
Same.
Not like it's
he looked amazing early.
Yeah, it's not like it's a hidden thing. For weeks, I was harping the Rams. Honestly, the Rams could and should have won. They decided to punt, never got the ball back. They could not stop Detroit. That's their fault. They figured it out, which amazingly, Raheem Morris is getting head coaching applicants, which, gentlemen, I guarantee he doesn't get any of them. I'm not going to go into why he does not get them, other than he doesn't deserve it, but why he's getting them is an entire different conversation. You guys are both intelligent. You can put it together. But once they figured it out, Detroit was stymied, kind of. They were confused, but I don't want to take it away from them. Like they made the adjustments. My boy Todd Bowles, he's coming in guns blazing. So
Yeah.
you think?
It may not look so perfect on that scripted first drive against the Todd Bowles team.
So you think, but that doesn't mean he's gonna blitz. All I'm saying is, God, fuck. What is this? An hour and a half on this fucking game?
Let's move on to Chiefs Bills.
No. Let me finish. The reason I'm saying that is the Buccaneers are the side. Whether or not it's the winning side, there's too much fluff, excitement. How can they just beat the fucking Eagles? Like there's still that we had mentioned. If it was the Eagles, what do you think the line would be? It'd be maybe 3.5.
3, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say lines by 3.
Yeah, 3.5, 4.5. And they would probably still get money. I don't know. I didn't do the math, but there is a large inflation. Now, whether or not Tampa Bay can fucking follow suit and cover, and the under and the over, like I think, which I didn't take a game total, but under 21.5 and under 26 or over 21.5 and under 27.5 is under 48.5 in theory when it's 23-17 Detroit. Or no. Oh, let me rethink that.
Buccaneers. 23-17 Buccaneers.
No, that's not what I was thinking. But I would not be shocked if Tampa won. I don't think they will. I would say 20-21 Detroit, which that's a shitty number. Don't bet it. I just think Detroit wins, don't cover, and under.
And under.
And under.
Very good. You heard it here, folks. Just take note of that short little tidbit right there. And if you're like one of our most vocal listeners, you don't have to listen to the rest of that hour and a half rant. Just we'll give you that little 10 seconds in the timestamp. So there you go.
You're good.
There you go, listener. You know who we're talking to.
Yeah. Fuck off. Yeah. Fuck off, MG. Hugs and kisses.
Moving on to the Chiefs at Bills. 45.5 is the total. Bills -3. Zesty, tell us all about it, and then we'll all get into it.
If you get -3, back to the Chiefs. If you get -2, Buffalo's aside, this game is just about as razor thin as it can be. Pardon me as I look at my notes. So about the only constant is the under. So Kansas City, I think, has played a lot of unders in the second half. Like I said, I'm away from my home office here. I'm doing a road show, but I know their second half unders are extremely profitable. Luckily, a lot of the places you can bet decided to just pull that from the option to bet. So it's not even a number.
Do you think that might be up closer to game time? I know we were discussing it a little bit before the show, but some of these books will put it up like day of.
I found it offshore at 23.5, but
yeah, it's probably inflated. I would still take. You said 23.5.
Yeah.
At 110.
Yeah.
That's a good bet. I would take that all day long if it's 110.
Yeah.
Let me double check on that, but pretty sure it's 110. Might be 115.
Well, 110, 115. I'm just saying highly big above that.
No, it's figged at 120.
Yeah. Which isn't terrible. It's just
it's extra fuckery.
They're siphoning. You can't have a first half. You can't have a second half. You can't have a team total. You can't have they're trying to take each side bets and do one of these and just control the entire market. So on this game, I played their game. You're going to give me the Chiefs. You're going to give me the Chiefs -3, -110. And you're giving me the Bills -2.5, -110. At two separate intervals, I'm going to take them. So, for the show's sake, I don't have a bet, but I promise you I will have a bet. It's just until they figure out their shit, it's a push, I guess. The side is Kansas City +3. This kind of goes back into Miami. What was it, 2 weeks ago? Everybody in the world loved Miami because they liked the metrics. They talked about the metrics, 8 yards per play, this. Everybody wants to fade the Chiefs because they look poor. But I think I roughly counted 15 of the 18 games, they've allowed less than 20 points. About a head. So that's another one. I couldn't find the team total, but I would bet Buffalo's team total more than I would the side. So this game is very incomplete. There is more to be bet. I know the public is loving the under. I'm completely disagreeing. This is an under game. This is probably both under team totals, at least under Buffalo's team total is my side I will stand on. No bet. want to find it first before I bet it, but take it away, public.
Yeah, public. You are on the. You don't love the under, but you love the second half under. Just to be clear, right?
I love the second half under. If I can find it, I'm going to bet the fuck out of it.
Yeah.
You
just
said
can't
the public
find it.
loved the under, but he's on the over.
I'm middling myself to a degree here, unless the game script goes pretty much in my favor. But I have the Bills early in the week at 2.5. I hear what you're saying with Kansas City at +3. Not a bad move to grab +3 and then also grab -2.5 if you can. To me, this is revenge time for Allen and kind of the last chance for the Bills. I think the Bills are nearing the end of their window, and they do have, in my view, a more consistent offense throughout the season. And despite the injuries that they have on defense, they've been playing well lately. So I know the Chiefs pulled one out last week, but again, we talked about that being against the frozen Dolphins there in Kansas City. It wasn't really like the Chiefs made a ton of big plays. They gave up the big play to Tyreek. Their defense continued to make plays, but again, I think there's a huge difference between Tua, especially in freezing-ass cold, and Josh Allen at home. So I don't think that Mahomes is going to be enough here to carry the day for the Bills. I think that both teams, if they're going to come out hot offensively, it'll be in the first half, and I think you could see, something like 14-13, 14-17 in the first half. Totals looking like it's in jeopardy, and then things are just going to get sluggish in the second half, in my view. So I do like the second half under. I think Mahomes' total passing yards ends up under 253.5 because I think the Bills are just going to force them to run the ball and keep Travis Kelce from making big plays, which is about the only threat that the Chiefs have outside of Rashee Rice. They know that Rice is the prime option. They saw that that's exactly where he went in the Dolphins game. But to me, the Bills are going to be able to make enough plays. They've got a lot of familiarity with the Chiefs. They played them a ton the past 3 years. I think 6 meetings, non-divisional team. So despite the fact that we're a Kadarius Toney fucking weird penalty away from Kansas City actually winning this matchup in the regular season because of that great Travis Kelce touchdown pass, I do see the Bills carrying the day here, cover the 2.5, and I think they score enough to hit the 45.5, but not by much, and that's why I have the under in the second half as well because I think things slow down.
I think it's interesting. You think the Bills are going to be motivated by possibly their last run at it, because that's exactly how I feel about the Chiefs. They may not be done with like their era of a competitive football team, but this group, this core guys, even Kelce, is he going to be back next year?
He's old. He's 34. We talked about that. Yeah.
So now's the time. If you want to go out on top, you better get on top now because your time is running out. And he's already not really an option in Kansas City. So I could see him stepping up for this game, but I wouldn't expect it.
Public revenge games. How do you even... I think the word is quantify. But don't quote me on that. But like, how
3 points.
How do you evaluate revenge games?
It's tough.
How do you encompass an entire team into a word? Is it possible?
I would say
It is not possible, right?
it is not. However, the Bills are sick and damn tired of getting their asses handed to them by the Chiefs in the playoffs. Fluke shit happens, 13 seconds, Mahomes comes back. This is Josh Allen's time.
Right.
And that is going to keep Josh Allen, because this is the part where I think it's incredibly hard to handicap with Josh Allen, revenge game or not. He's going to give you amazing, and he's quite possibly going to give the game away.
He's going to give you 336 yards a game, total yards.
Yeah.
But I'll pause, allow you to complete, and then I'll come back with a suggestion, potentially.
Allow me to complete because I'm done. I was just talking about.
No, I'm talking about the public here.
Yeah.
He cut me off midway as I was trying to quantify revenge game. I see it though as 3 points. 3 points is the quantification for revenge.
The revenge game is a 3-point swing. The
The 3 point swing.
I'd go 2.
The 3 point swing only because it's the whole team that needs revenge. There's a lot of those Bills that have been around for those Chiefs ass kickings in the playoffs. And I think old Von Miller is going to be getting in Mahomes' ass a little bit. And I am on the Josh Allen. I'm not fucking turning the goddamn ball over in this game train. So take us to the promised land, big man.
Right. So they all, they get in the locker room. They're like, hey, guys, we're 3-point favorites. Like, hey, Vaughn, we need to get after him. Revenge, get after him. Josh, stop fucking up. You're Superman, but stop fumbling. Stop fucking throwing stupid ass shit. Give the ball to Cook. Hey, we're good. Or that revenge thing is maybe a half a point. I'll give it half a point, potentially. Looking into it a little more, they're down the green dog. You know what a green dog is?
Green dog?
Yeah.
Nah, dog. I only know about blue dog.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm unfamiliar with blue dog.
You don't even get that joke, do you, Cody?
I don't know what blue dog is, but I thought we were professional here. If that is not a
Dad joke.
professional joke.
In your face, bitch.
Oh, okay. All right.
Bluey. Look it up. Or Blue's Clues. I mean, you can go old
Okay.
school. We know a lot of Blue songs.
Blue School. I know Blue's Clues. So Green Dog is the quarterback for the defense. He's out.
Oh, shit.
They just picked somebody up from the beat from Kansas State. Last week, he led the team in tackles, but he's straight off the couch.
You're talking about this is the Bills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
No, I was pretty sure. I just want to make sure before I said this because they had like 5 guys fucking drop last week.
Right. Which, thank you, Monrader. So Kansas City's got I flirted with you guys. I'm playing with the new site. I would tell you what it is, but I can't remember. Kansas City's got a 91 rating. 85 is average-ish. I think Buffalo is. It was either 81 or 79, so they're well above average, or well above average on injury. Miami was the same with Buffalo. Buffalo is hurting. I cannot stress this enough. I really hope Buffalo wins. But both can be true. They win and I cover.
Who the fuck is Green Dog?
I don't know, but he's out.
No, that's
That ain't
the
that ain't a
term
real
for the
last
defensive
name.
quarterback.
Green Dog is the Mike linebacker.
Yeah.
Fucking play a sport.
Come on now.
Terrell Bernard.
Keep up.
Shit, we all knew that.
Totally in the fucking dark on that. It's because he
I
wears the
was in the
microphone.
Yeah,
I get it now.
Green Dog.
Okay.
The Mike linebacker.
Terrell Bernard.
Yes.
Him among other fucking defensive studs that dropped last week. They just fucking kept going down.
Throughout
He
the
is
entire
listed as
year.
questionable.
Yeah.
Too questionable.
Yeah, questionable is questionable.
Well,
They
see,
got a lot of
all these
injured
guys are like,
linebackers.
I'm fucking playing no matter what. So it's like,
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't be out there, bud.
Hey, on a non-related topic, since we're here and we've kind of finished.
Ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude the betting week. But continue, Zesty.
What in the fuck is wrong with Pittsburgh wide receivers? Why are they fucking batshit crazy? All of them.
Every fucking time, man.
All of them.
And they're always talented, which is why I never know if it's like, do I fault the fucking Steeler organization? Like, is this a Steeler thing? Or do they just find the fucking guys who are really good, and really good receivers are just percentage-wise like 75% of the time bad shit? I don't fucking know.
My theory is the Steelers are one of the few teams that actually have a team culture that they think can somewhat override the clown dick receiver. And I think that they believe that because of what they were able to do with Antonio Brown. And, you know, can't really fucking argue with him there because the moment he got out of the moment he got out of Pittsburgh, all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, what have you been doing? So
and now it lives on with George Pickens. So
yeah, but he came from Central Michigan. George Pickens came from fucking Georgia,
right?
And he's 2 years in, and he's like, fuck you guys, eat my dick.
Here's what I think, because there may be something to this. The Steelers as an organization, just they hear the bullshit about these guys, but they have it in their head because of they've proven that it works for at least a short period. They'll handle a fucking crazy receiver, so they will take a guy who's known as like a guy who drops, whether it be AB, whether it be George Pickens. Not that he dropped. I don't think the Steelers reached on him or he fell by any means. He just he got picked where he got picked, and it was a good pick. But they're lucky to have him. But I'm saying he didn't go before the Steelers, maybe because there was something said. Maybe there's some inklings of a diva type of behavior, and the Steelers, I could see, just based off their history, saying, fuck it, we'll take another diva.
So you know what I think? Honest? Do we want to know what I think?
Of course.
Roll the dice, that's why we're
here. AB had Roethlisberger, a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
So he could probably go to him. Imagine what Roethlisberger probably had to endure. Why do you think they threw so many fucking slants? Then everybody's like, "Oh, Bruce Arians is a genius." Like,
Yeah.
hold on, like, hear me out. And the culture, I do believe the culture, but he had a quarterback that would fucking throw him the ball. And then
Yeah.
now we're transitioning into new Gen Z. Steven, what are you? Are you Gen Z? Anthony, what are you?
I'm a millennial.
I don't know.
And
I don't
I'm
even know.
an
I don't even know
older
what the fuck
millennial.
I am.
Millennial.
Yeah, we're
I don't-
millennials, man.
I don't identify myself as that. I'm an old school head, I guess.
We don't get into identities here.
Yeah.
It's just
And
year
I
you
think
were
we're all
born.
very, very traditional on the scale of millennials, to be fair.
But no, the question I have is, isn't it different type of crazy? Like I get it's a little bit of diva behavior, but to your point,
Yeah,
Pacheco and
George Pickens didn't do
AB.
himself any favors at all.
But what makes him crazy is different. Like Pickens, or I'm sorry, AB and Burris, they weren't crazy because they wouldn't get the ball, like you said. Like Roethlisberger would shove it down AB's throat every fucking week. He's reliable fantasy wise all the time, getting touchdowns, yards, everything. Pickens is going crazy because he has to fucking play with Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
That's why he's going crazy. He's used to being at fucking Georgia where he's open all the goddamn time and they throw it to him.
Well,
To that, his quarterback was
Stetson?
Stetson
yeah,
Bennett?
Stetson?
yeah.
He's
Wide
a
open,
slanger.
wide open, just like you guys said, wide open.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Hey, this motherfucker, give me the ball. How can you guys not give me the fucking ball?"
There's some truth to that. It's
I'm
like,
not saying
come
he's
on.
educated.
I know this shit isn't that hard.
And then it's offensive coordinator related. I'll tell you what, 30 pack, first round pick, third round pick. I'll send you a seventh and some Coca-Cola or something. Let's make the deal happen.
No fantasy trades on the show. It's a policy.
I want him off my team. I'm a culture builder. He's a bad culture guy. Can't have it. Can't win with it. Can't do it.
Nah, Pickens is crazy, man. But this is going to be a good weekend of football. Again, we went, Big Zest 9-2 last week. I came in at a sloppy 7-4. We both did about average on the props and gave ourselves, of course, we scored the Pittsburgh game, no bet for most of it because of the fact that it got moved. So, like the books, hopefully you guys all got refunded if you dropped early bets in, especially if you dropped them on the total. If you didn't, fuck your sports book. They're assholes. Anybody could have seen that that's the way it should have gone. But regardless, we will see what happens in these divisional matchups this weekend. Happy Saturday and Sunday to everybody coming up. And we will see if our Super Bowl predictions are still intact after next week as we head into championship week.
Thank you, gentlemen. Goodbye.
Adios.